Hi all and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to walk you through my 3D printing setup and what I use. So today's video is in response to a comment on one of the previous ones about what's my 3D printing setup and how do I use it. So I thought what I'd do today is walk you through what 3D printers I've got and the process I use with them. I've got two 3D printers. One's a plastic FDM printer, one's a resin printer. For those of you who know about printing, there's different uses for both of them, although some of them are transferable across. But in basic terms, the plastic printer is great for doing terrain, doing household objects, doing larger objects, and those that need sort of some structural strength as well. The resin printer, that's really designed for the small, precise details, so things like miniatures, nameplates, and tokens. That's the main uses of those. A good example would be the Blood Bowl pitches. You print a Blood Bowl pitch on a resin printer, it's going to cost you a lot of money, take you a long time, and you'll have an amazing amount of detail, but it is going to be a pain. On a plastic printer, it's going to take you a long time because the pitch is quite big, but it's not going to cost you quite as much, but it is still going to take lots of time. So let's have a look at the printers and I'll walk you through what I've got and how I use them. So where do my printers live? Well, they live behind this cupboard door in my office hobby room. So let me show you behind the door and you can see what's there. So inside this room I have three different printers, well actually two different printers and one wash and cure machine. So this printer is my Ender Pro. It's a fabulous plastic printer. As you can see, a couple of mods. I've got the side loading for the filament. It's on a nice piece of foam which really cuts down the vibrations and detail. Plenty of space. SD card goes in here. All sorted so it doesn't rattle and doesn't make a lot of noise. This is fabulous. It's a fabulous workhorse once you've got it leveled. And for those of you who know about plastic printing, you know all about leveling. So what else have I got? Well, the most important printer in terms of printing the detail is this one here. This is my resin printer. This is my Frozen Mini Sonic 4K. And this printer will do amazing detail on miniatures, and I love what this miniature printer can print out. And you'll see underneath here is this actually is the resin vat itself, and I've actually got a printed 3D cover on top of it, and you can see I've actually got resin living inside it because this cuts all the fumes down, keeps them all nice and safe underneath there. And once you've got the top on, everything's nice and clean, nice and secure, and away from fingers. I've got small children, you don't want them putting the fingers in there. The second one behind that, this one here, this is my wash and cure machine. Now this is a bit of a luxury item when it comes to printing. You don't need to wash and cure every miniature in something using this when you print it. You can wash it in isopropyl alcohol, wash the resin off normally, and then sun will cure miniatures. That's what this is. This produces UV and it spins around. Take about 5 minutes to wash, about 5 minutes to cure. That's the big advantage for me, is the curing time. You stick it in here, by the time you've tidied up, your miniatures are ready. I will still put them on the window shelf though for a bit of natural sunlight. I find that's really good. The last thing I've got, and something that's really useful, is this here. This is an air filter, and this actually has three different levels of strength. It's got a sort of a high, a low, and a sleep mode, which is quite quiet. This is really important for me. So this plastic printer will kick off some plastic and some detail and some fine parts. The resin has quite a whiff to it, and it does kick out a smell. You can really smell the resin when it's around. This really makes a difference for me and really takes that away. I'll use it on high when I've got the resin printing, and it'll take away the smell. Actually use it lower when the Ender's printing, mainly because if it's a cold morning, I found this actually starts a bit of an air circulation within here, and it's caused me some printings with issues with the adhesion levels. But I would fully recommend an air filter. Great for normal rooms and for those who don't want hay fever issues and details, but for all your hobbyists, stick one in a cupboard, stick it on a shelf, everything is sorted. This shelf is solid, takes all the vibrations off. I can push the door to nearly completely shut when printing, and that's great. So those are my printers. So that was the printers themselves, where they're stored and how I use them. There's one really important thing that you need for prep for any printing, and that's the appropriate software to set the miniature, the terrain or the detail up ready to print. There's two different types, and I'll walk you through both of those now. So firstly, for the 3D printer, you need a slicing software, a piece of software that effectively slices your model into those layers and gives the instructions to the printer. Now I use Cura for this. It's simple to use, it's really easy, there's loads of guides and details out there, and actually the software itself can be really well used for different kinds of slicing, different uses. Really good UI, and the visuals are really great for being able to see what you're actually doing. Used it since day one with the Ender. I'd fully recommend it, and every time the software gets updated, the prints are getting better. My favourite feature is an experimental feature called adaptive layering, which will actually allow you to change the layer type and size depending on the detail of what you're printing. This is great for when you're printing something that's got a reasonably flat base, but then you want a detail on the top. It will really tailor the detail in. The second is for the resin printer. Now there's a few different options of software here, but I'm a massive fan of the Lightsheet software. It's really powerful and it's really simple, and I find the UI on it so much better than the others. It's really powerful for using for different types of preparing the resin plate printer, and for me the best thing about it is its ability to detect holes and fix models, but also its magic button, which you can do a load of support detail yourself. Doing supports is one of the really tricky things with the resin printer and getting it sorted. I'm not a big fan of pre-supported miniatures, although they are getting better and better month by month by month. I like being able to support miniatures myself, partly because I like being able to see how much I can cram onto the plate to get things done. Particularly for things like nameplates, they don't come pre-supported because I am customizing them in the software that I'm using for that. So I like being able to set those supports up and go through and check for islands and check the detail of the printing. Lightsheet's great, it'll tell you how long the print's going to be, tell you how much resin you're going to need to do, and the visuals are really great. I'd fully recommend it. So the other thing to walk you through is the sort of post-print processing, and I think this is really important, particularly for the resin printing. For the plastic printer, there's very little post-production, post-printing work that you need to do. Basically, you need to get the model off the printer, probably do a little bit of tidy. I often print with a brim, so you need to take that off. You might have a little bit of stringing, a little bit of detail, but actually you're good to get on with priming and tidy it up from there. And actually priming is one of the best ways to seeing whether you've got any little stringing details that you're doing. A little quick bit of sanding and you're done. For the resin printer though, you've got to be A lot more careful, and B, a lot more detailed in what you're doing. Resin is toxic. There are lots of different types of resin out there that you can get around this problem by, but resin is toxic yourself. So it's about using the appropriate PPE, the appropriate handling for it, and being safe, because you do not want to spill resin everywhere. You do not want to spill resin on yourself, but you do want to have nice miniatures. So let me walk you through how I do that. So you've done your print on the resin printer and you need to take it off. What do you do? Well, the first thing you need to do is you need to put on gloves, and you need to make sure you're wearing gloves. You can get loads of gloves, and we've all started wearing gloves and using masks over the last couple of years. Put on a quick mask, use the gloves. It will make a massive difference. You do not want to burn your skin. Now, I really like letting the miniatures drip as much resin off them so I can reuse that resin, and also I'm not carrying it around. So actually I've printed, and on the plastic printer, a little holder for my plate so I can hang it over the resin tray and it will drip into that. Don't use it all the time, but if I'm doing a model that's very curved or detailed and will have resin sitting in it, I'd absolutely use that. The next thing you're going to need, and you need lots of it, is the good old paper towels. And I bought these from your friendly DIY store in a 6-pack because I really wanted lots of them, and then I'm not worrying about them and using them. There are certain times when using kitchen towels, a little bit more soft and useful is better. The other thing is a nice tray, which I use to put everything on. So if I take a resin print off the printer, firstly I'm going to carry it wearing my gloves and in a paper tray. I'm going to put it on this tray here, and that's where I'm going to get it off the resin print bed. And for that you need your spatula knife. That's a thin knife which you're going to get under the plate and take things off. Now be careful when you do this, because A, you do not want to slice your finger up with this. You'll see plenty of injuries about this if you look it up on Facebook. And secondly, you don't want things flying everywhere. So do that, get it off the plate. I put it onto another piece of paper on the tray, and then I can put it into the wash and cure machine and get it washed. If you want to empty your resin out, use a simple little aid to help you, or a bigger one like this, which I very rarely use because of this amount of resin, but also do use a sieve. Now this is particularly useful when you've had a model failed. When you've had a model failed, you want to get that model out of the resin so you can reuse your resin. So do that. Once your resin has washed in your washing machine, you need to take it out, and again that's where back to the paper towel. Get it out, put it on the paper towel, and the detail from there. Now for those of you who don't know, the hot water trick is amazing. Get a simple little Tupperware box, this is the one I use, half fill it with reasonably hot water, but not so hot you can't put your hands in, and then drop your miniatures in that. That will help your supports just soften enough, then you'll be able to literally pull them off after a few minutes of them being in the hot water. Now if you've got small thin arms, be really careful that you don't leave it too long that they get soft. Occasionally you might have a slightly awkward bit of support, and in that case we've all got hobby snippers, so use them. Once you've taken them off that, get them on the curer, tidy up, all is done. Well, hopefully that's given you a run through how I use my printers and the basic setup for tidying and wearing equipment, PPE for your resin printer. Take it slow, be careful. Once you've got your process worked through, just do it again and again and again. As you can see from where the printers are, they're all set up for me ready to use, and that's what you want to do. Get in, use them, print stuff, prime it, maybe even get round to painting it. Hope this video has been useful for those who are interested. I hope it's answered the questions I had before about the printing. If you like the video, hit the like and subscribe button below, and I'll see you on the next one. Happy gaming, good luck.